Hello friends and everyone, you're welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick, and in this video, we are going to do something different. For the past few videos that I have been doing, I have been talking about .NET 8 authentication, either cookie authentication or a bearer token authentication with an endpoint API or opt-in API endpoint with Blazor WebAssembly. That is what I've been talking about for past few videos that I have done. But in this video, we are going to talk about a feature known as individual account. Individual account is a feature provided by the ASP.NET team, which allows us to have the scaffolded version of all the components. Talking about login, register, logout, two-factor authentication, and a whole lot. Okay, this is a default one, and it is very, very easy to implement, but it is not easy to go through. I'm going to take you to the basics of how to implement it. We're going to talk about the two aspects here, how to customize the identity and also how to add rows to it. Let's get started. But before we jump right into this, if you know you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do that. And when you're done subscribing, hit on that notification bell so you will never miss out any upcoming content. Also, if you enjoy what you're going to see today, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you do that, it actually helps this channel grow. Also, stick around to the end of this because it is something that you wouldn't want to miss it. Let me appreciate you for taking time to watch videos from this channel. As usual, I'll try to do my best. I offer training session or coaching session for people who are interested in Blazor and .NET technologies. Check the video description and I'll put the link over there. And we're going for this web app template. The name here is going to be Demo Blazor Cookie Authentication with Individual Accounts. So we choose the location, click on Next. And now in here, the framework version, we choose 8.0. That is what we are talking about. And for the authentication type, we are going for this guy, Individual Account. So choose that. And for this interactivity mode, let's choose the auto, because the auto gives us the access to all the render modes, both the server and now the client too. That's the WebAssembly. If you don't understand the interactivity types, I've made a video explaining each with an example. Check the video description. Maybe I'll put it there, or check the playlist. It is in also. And now let's click on Create. Alright, so the project is now created. Now, when we check the solution, we have two projects here. Those of us who have been working with the former Blazor WebAssembly co-hosted, we have that is the server, that's an API, we have your client, and maybe you have your class library. This time around, we have the Blazor server over here, you have the client section as well. Okay, there's no API here. Now what you have here, it is the same as this server. So this server is going to handle all the calls and all the database aspects. All pages that you want to run on the client, you put them in the pages folder here. And that's why you have this pages folder. So we have this auth counter page in here. Okay. Now you see we have this class here that's known as a persistent authentication state provider. If you've done custom authentication state provider before, you know what it does, and the same thing that this also do. You can see we have the claim that it creates, and it calls this persistent state to get the claim identity from the user, and I use this to authenticate the user. You can see from here, maybe you'll be asking yourself this is for login and for registration, etc. But you're not having any model. Yes, all the login and the registration models are found beneath each component. So if it is a login, we have the model beneath. If it is a register, we also have the models beneath. It is only this user info model that's what we have in here. And this is what we use to populate the info for the authentication state provider. So if you check auth state provider, you see we are using that user info model here. And that is give us the access to grab the user ID, the email, and now the email. So here we're using the same email for the user claim type of email, and the same email for the claim type.email. So you see, maybe you may have used your real name here and you have your email. By this time around, you're having the email for both. And that is what we have. So you see, we have just two user ID and now the email. Okay. Now, where are these components? Go to the component folder, go to accounts, now pages. So you have all these pages in here. What you're going to concentrate today, it is the login and now the register. So if I click on the register, you can see we have this by the identity manager. So you can see this. As soon as you see this, what comes to mind, that is identity manager, isn't it? So because we have this application user and it is from the user manager. The same thing applies to the signing manager and the etc. So when you check down here, this is the, let me increase some more. All right. And maybe close this and open it again. So you can have, so register. So this page needs these text boxes to work. And you can see we have this input text box for the email. We have the password over here, and that's a confirmed password. Forget about these underlines. It is a studio issue. It is not the code issue. So when you check down here, that is where you can see you can have the model. So this is the model that we have. We have for email, password, and we have the confirmed password. Okay. Now this, when we check good solution, and also check the login, we have the same thing over here because we have an email and we have password. Now the question is, maybe let's run this and see. So let's run this application. So that is what we see on the screen. So defaultly, when you run this application, we have all the for the counter and this weather forecast we know as usual already. And you can see we have this auth required, meaning authentication required, and also we have this register. So this also register, and we have this login. So the question is, this is the default one. You have an email, password, and confirmed password. What if in case maybe you want to add full name? Okay, what can you do? Is it possible? Yes, you can. So that is the modification. So we're going to talk about today, maybe let's customize the app user, and also let's add some roles. So maybe you want to have admin and user. As soon as the person creates an account, we check if that role exists, then we assign the role to the person. Let's try that and see. So let's see, before we run this, I want us to do the modification, then run it together. So let's go to the solution, check the component, and you can see we have data folder in here. We have migration file created. Now check the application user. So this class here, it has one method, application, or one class, application user, and it is inheriting from this identity user. This identity user, from the previous video that I have covered, it contains the password, I think the user ID and the username. Okay, so we want to add full name to this. So in such case, what I'm going to do, just pass in our username in here as string, maybe user or full name. Okay, because you have username here, so you want to have a full name. And maybe you can have another property in here as maybe phone number or etc. Maybe phone number or something like that. Okay, so it depends on what you want to add to the email and password. You can add any, so I have full name added. Now let's maintain that. So once you are done with this, maybe you can just go to solution, and the same thing, we have our AppDB contest. You know, we have this class over here, and it's inheriting from this IdentityDB contest, passing in this application user. Now this application user is what we have modified, inheriting from this identity user. So obviously it is inheriting from this identity user, okay? But you want to add this property to that. Okay, now let's check it out. And yeah, that's the thing that you can find over here. Okay. The next thing to do here is let's check our AppDB app-setting.json. I believe by now you know what it entails, isn't it? That is a connection string. So with this, let's change this. I don't want this. This is very long for me, so I'm going to just remove, and now just type in demo. This is cookie db. So that's the name that I want. And now with this, I prefer to use the local instead. So this long one. So this local. And here, let's add this trusted connection or trust server certificate. Okay, so trust server certificate. Let's set this to true. Okay, now we have this done. We can save this. So let's go to the register page where we can register, and that's going to be components, and where we have this register component. So let's add a full name property to the model, and that can be found down here. Okay, so maybe you can put this in one class so you can import it and use it anywhere. Okay, but for now, we are doing step by step for now. So let's add the full name. So I can just make a copy of this, then just change here to full name. Okay, so save this. Now you can come in here and now have one text box. So we have this for username, and that's for the email. So maybe you can just make a copy of this one here, and now on top we can paste it top here. And instead of this, we're going to change this to a full name. So we have our full name here. Okay, and now this full name is coming from this input. Remember the input here, it is a model. Remember, this is the input. So this is the input model, and it is coming from this input model class here. Okay, so that's why we have this full name property in. So you can see that we have this as a form, and this is an edit form. It has the model as input, and you can see the method here, it is post. So, and this is onValid submit. So it is post because you can see from here, we are not using any of the render mode. So this is a static rendering. And when a static rendering, this works. Okay, so it works because of this form name that you initialize in here. And I'm making this as a post request. So it means when you call this method, it has to receive this input model. And that's what exactly this is doing. So check this up. What is it? That is where? Okay, so right here. Now check this, register user, and it is accepting this edit context. Okay, and now edit context. So you create an instance so you can just fish out everything in it. Okay, but you see we've added one property as full name. So what can we do? We know that it is coming from, we can have access to this input model here. All right. So this also, the outcome of this create user, it is going to store in this user section. So we can do here, we can assign the full name to this user. So if I click on this and I say user dot, I'm going to have access to, let's see, you're going to have access to full name. Let's say user dot full name. Yeah, so we have access to full name. And that is coming from the app user that we created. This app user, we had a full name, and that is what we are assigning this to. Okay, and I will say this input. Is it input? Yeah, that's the only input. So let's make it as input dot full name. And I believe you know where this input is coming from. That is this model. Okay, so we assign it here. So let's say when you have 3 or more properties that you are calling the form or section input here to grab them, you're going to assign them here, and that is a modification. Okay, so after doing this, what is the next thing to do? Now we see we inject the user manager, and that is what you can see from here. This is for identity manager. And what we are going to create a user, when we have the user name, that's the email, and then the user password. So check down here. If everything works, we are creating the user in here. And we create a user by grabbing the user that we assign the full name to. And also, we are adding the password. Okay. So, with this, after the user has been created, we see we return error when it couldn't make success. But after it's successfully created, then down here we can create row and assign the user to the row. Okay, so assign the user to the row created. And that is what we're going to do next. So here, in order to do that, we have to first add a row to the application. Let's go to solution. Before that, let's save this. Go to solution, and now with the same server section, click on the program.cs file. And here, before this, we see this is the system to add this cookie session. Now, before I move on, let me tell you this. Now, the implementation of this is used by, or it uses cookie authentication. It is not bearer token. It uses what? Cookie authentication. Take note. All right, so once you have this entity framework store, before this, you're going to have .add rows. Then we can create a customized class, but for now, let's use this identity row. Okay, so now we are adding rows to the application. Now let's go to our register section, and now in here. Okay, so now back to, let's check full name, and now let's make this as full name. So let's make sure everything is in order, and maybe this placeholder is an example. Let's pass in like John Doe. So we have this. Okay, now the label here, it is not emails, rather full name. And our validation here, it is for the full name. You make sure you make those changes. Okay, all set. Now here, let's check. After user has created successfully, we want to check if a row of administrator is available. This is what you want to do. We want only one person to be registered as an administrator. Any subsequent registration is going to be assigned automatically to a user. But maybe later on, if an administrator wants to manage the user and want to assign the role, maybe you can do that. But for now, let's do that. The first person here is going to be registered as admin. The rest, users. I hope this is clear. So now let's check first. You must check and see if the role of administrator has been created. Okay. So to do that, let's have, you can use this to check. And now this is from the role manager. Where it is coming from? We're going to add it top here. So where we have this, let's make a copy of this. And now instead of this user manager, you're going to say role manager. And now we're going to pass in not identity user, but rather identity role. Then what is the name here? It won't be user manager, rather it's going to be what? Role. I hope you get it. Okay, so now let's come down here. Make sure we save whilst we work. All right, now we check first. Where are we? Okay, let me find. Okay, so we check admin role. We check if a role called administrators is created or is found in the row table. If it is not found, what I'm going to do, let me just grab this and let's go through quick. It's a very simple code, and that's what you're using to check for a row and uncreate it. So we check for find by name async. We check for administrator's row. If it is null, then it means the person registering is the first one. So create the row. After creating, assign the current user to the administrator. So to administrators, let's make administrators. Okay, so after assigning, that's what the next one will come and check, is admin role created? Here's going to be what? False. Because this is saying that admin is null. But in this case, admin will never or will not be null. So it's going to skip this and I'll come here. Now check, is user role there? If it is not there, then create it and assign the user the role to that user. Okay, so set this row users to the person registering. If the next person comes in, checks, is the role created? Yes, it is created. So it's going to skip this and assign this user role to that person. So it means all the subsequent registrations is going to be assigned users automatically. Okay, so that's a way to handle the row management. Now let's save this. Now we have this row added and created. So let's add a row to the auth state provider, and we can do that from the solution and this persistent authentication state provider. Now from here we have this username over here. So let's make a duplicate, a copy of this. And now we're going to say that the type here is going to be what? It's going to be row. And we are going to assign this user info dot. Do we have row here? We are not. So it means you must add this row here. So let's go back to the user info. And now in here, we can make a copy of this. And I'll change this to row. It means you are going to assign row to this model. So anytime that you call it here, it's going to handle the value of row, either administrator or user. Good. So now we are done with this. Now let's set the values for each of this model. Let's see, do we have any issue? Okay, so we have to, this must be a comma. I think so. All right, so this shouldn't be there. I hope you know that. That's right. Let's save it. Now let's assign. You can see that we are setting the values from this model to this claim type. Now these values, for example, when we write it now, they are null because we haven't assigned the values to this. Let's do that. Let's assign the row because the email has been assigned already. And we can check that from the solution. Go to the server side and we have this persistent revalidating authentication state. So see, we have two states here. One is protecting the client section, and one is for the main one, that is the boss, the server itself. So in here, you could say that we are setting up, check down here, where you have this on authentication state change. We have this persistent async, and that is where we need to set the values. So let's make a copy of this. We can just grab the row from here, and I will say, instead of the email claim type, we can also have the row claim type. And you know what you're going to do next? Assign the row here, because we're going to say it is this row. Now this row that we are assigning here, this is coming from this row. Okay, the claim type here. And now this row, it is coming from, it's a property found in this user model. And that is what we updated here. So all methods or all property that you add here, you need to assign the values in here. And you have to extract them from the identity. Okay, good. So now we have this. What is the next thing to do? Maybe if the user wants to update the data, the user must see the name that we have added, isn't it? So maybe you can do that from solution. And you know, we have this, open this manage. And that's where we have this manage info. So this is going to be the user info. Check the index. And you can see from here, we have this edit form. And that is where the user is going to validate or update him or herself. We have the username, we have the phone number. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to add, let's make a copy of this. Now we've added one property known as what? Full name. So make sure input dot. But here we're not going to have this full name. We have only phone number. But let's add the full name here. Now come down here and check. The model is over down here. So we have just phone number. Just make a copy of this. So just a copy. And let's paste it here. And let's change this to full name and also change the property name. So maybe we can write full and we can space it up in case you want to do that. And we can just write full name. Okay, so this is what you want to do. Now let's go back and check. So we have this. This is going to be the username. And here we have a full name. And please enter your full name. That's what you want to tell the person. Your full name. And it is not phone number for the label. We can just edit this to suit what you want. And that is the full name. Okay, so You can just for full name. I think so. Yeah, all set and done. All right. Now we save this, and I'll come here. So we have to create a string here because we are creating a string to handle this, and this is coming from this application user. So let's make a duplicate of this, and I'll make this as full name. Now in here, come down here and you can see we are extracting the username from this, extracting the username and also the full name in here. So in order to do that, we are having the username from this input. Okay, so we can also set this. As you can see, they have this input.phone number. It's not equal to null. Then set it to this phone number. So this is what the correlation operator, and now this means this is null. Okay, so if this is null, assign the phone number to the value as a value to this property, and we're going to also do the same over here. So we can make a duplicate and just have to change the numbers, isn't it? Because we have it here, we have the full name added. So assign it to this string full name in here, and off you go. Now when onValid submitted, so when the button is clicked, we are checking it over here, as you can see. So set phone results is await user manager.set number async. So yeah, it is only setting the number. Now what can we do to add the whole details? So maybe we can also add and. So let's add this, and if input.full name. Okay, now with this we can just have string dot is null or empty. So we're going to have input.full name. So let's negate this. So if this is not equal to null, then we want to, so instead of this set only phone number async, we're going to say dot update. Okay, so update async, and we are going to pass in. So let's close this and see what this update needs. So this update on check, it needs an application user. Okay, so we have this user here, and we're going to update that. So we have this user. So let's grab this, and now we pass in here. And that is it. For the rest, you can customize it yourself. Maybe failed to set phone number. No, we don't want to do that. Maybe if added on the full name, so we can add some exception over here to handle that. Okay, so that is what we need to do. Now let's see almost if you are done. Let's save this. Now since we've modified or customized the application user, it means we have to build this and apply migration. So let's do that and see. But before that, let's do it at once. So let's go back to the page section, that is the client section, where we have this auth and the counter. Okay, so maybe we can check the index from this component, and now from the pages, let's see if we have a home. So pages is found down here, and we have this home. So in here, let's at least display some info. If you are a user, if you are admin, you want to say I'm an admin. If you are just a user, as soon as you log in, you want to say you are also a user. So we specify the roles administrator by using this authorized view. And now we have this as rows, and this as what this rows as well. So you know this for administrators, and it's going to show when you are a user. Okay, so let's save this. Now let's go and build this. So as you can see, succeeded. Now let's go to Package Manager console, and let's add our AppDB migration. So that's an add migration, and I'm going to say this is second because we have first one already created. So this is going to make the changes that we have added, and that's the full name. So let's wait to see. Okay, so you can see that we have full name added, and to this table ASP.NET Core. Let's update all the tables. So you're going to say update database. Now let's wait. Alright, so it is done now. Let's go to SQL solution. Solution SQL Server Object Explorer. So let's open this and my desktop databases, and I might see DemoDB. That is this one. So I'll just open it and I'll click on tables, and I'm going to look up for the various tables such as the ASP.NET Core users. This is the first one. We have this user. So open this, view data. The next one is rows too. So right click on this and now view data. And let's have a look. I'm not sure it is. Let's check. Oh, I could see some data in here as a default one. Now let's check the app settings. And now here, this is demo cookie DB. Okay, so that's not the right one. So let's close them and open the right one. So that is the first one, this. So yeah, tables. And yeah, we have the ASP.NET user. So view data, this must be empty. Rows must also be empty. But we have one data in already. So we have this ASP.NET rows here. Alright, so we can just remove this. Okay. And let's see. So we also have these claims. Okay, so we have rows. User ASP user rows. Also, let's view this data. Okay. So you can see from the rows, there's no row here, no row created. There's no user as well. Now let's run this application. Okay, so the app is ready. Now let's go to register. And you can see we have a full name text box added in here. Okay, so now let's pass in the full name. And I'm going to say this is, let me use Netcode-Hub, right? So this is Netcode-Hub. And I'll say this is admin@gmail.com. I have the password as admin@123. The same thing as admin@123. If I click on register, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so you can see that we have the app does not currently have a real email sender. So although we can implement that later on, but for now, normally this will be emailed, okay? But for now, it is not. So click here to confirm. Let's click here to confirm. Now, thank you for confirming your email. Now, let's go back and check from our database. So if I refresh this, let's see if we have the details in here. Okay, so this, we are not having that, isn't it? Let's check app settings. Let's check the app settings well and find out this is demo cookie DB. Okay, so ASP.NET users. If I refresh this, I do not have anything in here. Okay, so demo cookie. Okay, so this is demo cookie identity. We are going in for demo cookie DB. All right, I have a similar databases. Sorry for that. Let's check this. I believe this has the data that we need. So let's open view data, rows as well. Okay, yeah, we have it. So when you check the users, we have the admin over here, and now check. The admin has been assigned. The ID ends with 76, right? Check the rows. We have a row over here. And now let's find the ID. So definitely it is saying that this ID has been assigned to a row. The row ID is 21. The user ID is 76. That is an admin. Let's try to see the row ID of 21. So when it goes to row 21, it is for the admin. As you can see from the administrators, that is the row. Now let's create another one and see if it's going to be assigned to user or not. Now let's see. So register again, and I'm going to make it at user account, and I'm going to say user@gmail.com. Password is user@123 and user@123. Now click on register. And now got it. So let's confirm. Let's check it again. Refresh this. And let's see. Alright, so you can see now we have users table as well. And the ID here, it is F. Check the rows. Now, different users have been assigned to F, right? So there's an F, the row ID, and we assigned to this user of B. Check the users. And now, let's refresh this. And I will say this is B. So as soon as it got and it checked that we have admin created already, it skips and add it to the user. Now let's add one table, one data, and also see if it's going to assign to administrator or to assign to the user. So register one, and I want to use this John Doe. So john@gmail.com. So let's do the same admin at 123. Admin at 123. Register. Got it. So let's confirm. And now let's check. So refresh this. Now we have the next. The ID is B. User, right? So you can see this is John. The ID is 41. Go to the rows. Let's refresh it. ID is 41. And it has assigned to F. Now when you trace to F, it is what? F is the user. So you can see that we have only one administrator, the rest are users. Now let's log in and check it out. So when you log in, since this identity management here uses cookie authentication, we're not going to have bearer token. We're going to have cookie authentication. So let's go to inspect, click on login, and now we have this John. Remember that this John here is a normal user. Let's click on this and navigate to the application. Now check the cookie session. So cookie, open it, and that's a port check it. So this is not the identity. Let me open it again. That is just a session from the app. There's no identity. So let's log in and see. So if I click on login, see what happens here. So you can see identity cookie has been created, and that is a cookie over here. Now if the person tries to make a call, so let's see auth. You can say hello john@gmail. Let's go to this app, and you can see we have the cookie over here. Now weather forecast, and you can see we are still having it as well. Now check this. Okay, so we have the John over here. We have the email. The full name is down here, and we have the phone number. Okay, so we can update this, but I think we updated that already. So we have this John, so we have to retrieve the John, and now you have to also retrieve the phone number and now get them stored here. But for now, let's log out and see. As soon as I log out, you see it is also off. Now let's log in again. It has been assigned. And as soon as I log out, I can now have access to, as soon as I log in, I can now access this. Now let's close this and I'll go to the home page. Hello, you are user. Now let's log out. You can see it is off. Let's log in as a different person. So let's use an admin, this administrator, and now you are admin, isn't it? Now if I go to this, you see I have the same admin email over here, and now for the full name, you have to retrieve that. Alright, so in here, I made some small change in here, and we are now having what we're supposed to get. So this is what I did. Now you see, when you run the page, you know, we are accepting this context here, and that carries in the user. So we can extract the user information from this HTTP context. Okay. Now in here, we getting the required user async from this HTTP context, that's the payload, and now we can return with this user. So this user comprises of the application user, and that has the username, the full name, and then the ID and the email as well. Okay. So in here, we can also get, you know, we have a method known as get username async from user manager. So you can also use that one to extract the username from this user stored as application user. What left here is a password. No, not a password. No, that's a phone number. And there's also a method known as get phone number. We can also use to extract only the phone number field. But here, it has left with the full name that we added. That is a customized one. How can we do that? How can we extract it? That's what we need to pass in. You know, this input module comprises of a property known as a full name. And since this email, since this user here carries all the data, that we created when registering, we can also extract the user from this, the full name from this user. And we are extracting it. So we are saying that user.fullname. So we are getting the user.fullname here. Now it may be that the user would like to change it. So as soon as the user changes it, we are going to assign. So here, this is a correlation operator, and we are checking if this input full name is null, then assign this username to it. But in case we've updated it, meaning this input full name won't be null, so this user full name, that's the old one, won't be updated. We are going to handle the old, that's the current one, because the index here is a model, and that's what we use to fill the form. So if I update it now, it is going to hold the current one, but this user is holding the previous one. So we are checking if this is null, then don't assign the value of this. And now we are updating the user in here. So in order to update the user in here, we have to now assign the current values here to the user. So user.fullname equal to the input model.fullname. We do the same to the password. Then we pass in the username to this update async to update the info. And that's what we are doing. This is a very simple one. So if I run this, let's see what we have. So we are logging already. Let's log out and let's log in. So we are using an admin. So let's log in over here. We are an admin. Click on this. You can have access to this. Now you see we have an admin at Gmail. Now with this, you can add, let's add updated. So we're going to add channel to it. And maybe the phone number, we are adding 0. So update this. Now let's see, your profile has been updated. So go back and I'll come in again. You're going to have the same thing. Okay, so now let's log out and let's try another one. So in here, John, let's log in. We have John Doe. So let's add one more. So we have Hughes. Then the phone number here, it is maybe 1479. All right, so let's maintain now, save this. And this has to be saved because it has been maintained. Return, and I'll come back again. We have the same info over here. Let's log out the last one, and that is a user. So we have this full name over here, and that's a user account. So we can just add and update it, and phone number you can have in that. Click on save, and you have profile been updated. Go in there, come back again, and you see it is still there. So that is a way. There's just a few, just a tip of an iceberg. So there's a lot in this, okay? But if you want to start, if you are creating a simple application, then I do recommend you to start your own custom authentication, because this is going to just overwhelm you, and when it gets stuck, it becomes a problem, right? So when you're having a small application, then you can just have your own custom authentication. But if you think this is also useful to you, you can just grab this and use it anytime. The more you practice your hands on, the more you stick to it, the more it becomes clear to you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave the source code of this at the GitHub, so check the video description and it will be available. I'm going to catch you up in the next video, so take care.